This is the METS POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Mets score 4 runs in the 8th inning, but are unable to hold on as their winning streak gets snapped at 7 games as they fall in the opener to the Washington Nationals by a final score of 5-4. Welcome in to the Mets Postcast here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel and in the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I'm your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. And what an interesting one to start this 4-game series with the division rival Washington Nationals. And it was a familiar story for the New York Mets. The bats cold early, they rallied late, but this time they were unable to hold on. And the bullpen, not having Edwin Diaz available tonight, were unable to get the final 3 outs. And there was a weird call by the umpires in the middle of all of this. Don't worry, we will get to that here at some point during the game. The New York Mets entered this series riding a 7-game winning streak, playing their division foe, who the script is pretty simple for this Washington Nationals team. Get to their bullpen. Their bullpen has the worst ERA in the National League, the worst ERA in all of baseball. This bullpen, outside of their closer, Kyle Finnegan, is very gettable, and that should have been the recipe for the New York Mets. But just like he did last year, Jake Irvin was a puzzle that the Mets could not crack through the first 7 innings of this ball game. They had to save their rallies for the 8th inning, a huge 8th inning that the Mets saw themselves score 4 runs. Mark Vientos with the bases clearing go-ahead triple, and they handed things over to the bullpen there in the 9th inning. And obviously, that is where we'll start.
This is what you'll be talking about.
When Edwin Diaz is not available for the New York Mets, Ryan Stanek is the backup closer. He is the 1A closer option. He's the guy that they turn to get these final 3 outs. And so far this season has been excellent in that role. Did not have his best stuff tonight, clearly, and set all of that damage into motion. The Mets then turned to lefty A.J. Minter to try to work themselves out of that jam. He was able to get the first out, but a ball that gets hit right back up the middle kind of gets booted off of Jeff McNeil, goes into the outfield. And when you have Abrams on the base pass, that speed is dangerous. And the Mets were unable to get the ball in time, and the Nats walked it off. I guess we'll start with what I'm seeing in the comments, that Acuna needed to be in the game for defense. I'm not sure if Acuna makes that play. He might, but the Mets should have never been in this situation. They were up 4-3. Their bullpen's been great all season. It should never come down to a play like that. Stanek didn't have it. Minter got 0-2 in that at-bat before the at-bat got worked back to a full count before the ball gets hit right back up the middle. Because the way the 9th inning goes down, Cruz hits a leadoff triple. You then have Tena hit a single, so that ties the game. And then a fielder's choice gets the first out. So then the Mets go to Minter for the left on left. He gets Abrams to ground into a fielder's choice, so now there's 2 outs. And Wood, he gets ahead 0-2 with 2 cutters, a strike looking and a strike swinging, and then it's 3 straight balls before the single. You have a guy 0-2, you've got to get that guy. I mean, you have to. Would he have made that play? Perhaps. You certainly think if we're comparing the 2 defenders between Acuna and McNeil, we would say Acuna is a better defender, but I don't know. That's a tough play for anybody to make. Does he keep the ball in front? Yes. Does he get that last out? I don't know if they're able to make the play at first base. And then I'm also seeing some people in the chat saying that Garrett should have closed. Absolutely not. I don't care how good his 8th inning was. The New York Mets have a very good bullpen that has multiple options. You very rarely, if ever, want to ask one of your higher leverage arms to get multiple outs. So Reed Garrett had a very good 9-pitch inning where he got the 3 outs. But you have a setup man for a reason to set up for your bullpen, or for your closer, who tonight it was Ryan Stanek, and he just didn't have it. It's going to happen over the course of 162. You're going to have a lead, and your bullpen is just not going to be able to close the door. It's been few and far between for a team that after this game is still 18-8 on the season. You are not going to be perfect. Not everything is going to go exactly the way that you want it to. And if you use Garrett for 2 innings tonight, you're basically saying he's not available for the next couple days of this series. And it's just not who Reed Garrett is. It's not what this bullpen is designed to do. They have 3 multi-inning guys. They asked Matt Kranick to go multi-innings. They asked Huascar Brazaban to go multi-innings. And they asked Jose Butto to go multiple innings. Everybody else is a 1-inning, mostly reliever. And so Garrett gave them the outs that they needed in the 8th. Stanek, who had been really good all season, just didn't have it. But credit to the Mets, because we said at the top that the story of this team, the Nationals, that is you get after their bullpen. And the Mets did that in the 8th inning, where with 2 outs, they were able to have a Brandon Nimmo infield single that got them on the board. And then Vientos hits a ball off the end of his bat, hits it over into the right field area, dumps it in. Cruz makes a diving attempt at the ball. You got to think in that spot, you just want him to keep the ball in front of him. He dives for it. It gets behind him. It allows them to clear the bases. The Mets take the lead, and you're thinking to yourself, boy, the Mets are going to do it again. They're going to rally late. The bullpen's been excellent all season, that they were going to have a win that they were just going to steal in this one after, for the first 7 innings and even into the 8th, they did not have an answer for Jake Irvin. They did not. He dominated them last year with 8 scoreless on the 4th of July, and tonight it was more of the same. The story of this team is you got to get to their bullpen. The Mets were unable to do that as they allowed Irving to go into the 8th inning of this one. He finished with 7 1/3 innings as the Mets drop the opener to the Washington Nationals. We'll talk about Kodai Senga. We'll talk about 2 guys that made their debut for the Mets tonight. And yes, we will talk about that play that was called that stifled a Mets opportunity early in this one. We will get to all of that here on the other side. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, you subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Unlimited with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. You have hundreds of premium titles. One of my favorites, EA Sports College Football 25, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, or Avowed, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It is gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. They've got 4K streaming. You can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscription services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. You can also play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. You already have one. A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your or your kids' games wherever you plug in. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Unlimited subscription and a compatible controller required. It's available on select devices, including the Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, the Fire TV Stick 4K Max, the 1st and the 2nd Gen, and the Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Back here on the Mets postcast, on the Locked On Mets podcast feed, and on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. Kodai Senga, I thought, was pretty solid tonight. 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. And when you have a guy who recently has been as nails, as lights out as Kodai Senga has been, you're somewhat disappointed by a start where he goes 6 innings and allows 2 runs. He entered the start tonight 18 2/3 scoreless innings. So again, with that being the backdrop, you're somewhat disappointed with a start where he goes 6 innings and allows 2 runs. But in the books, they classify that as a quality start, and I thought he was good enough. And it is a perfect reason why pitchers' wins and losses and a pitcher's record is not a true indicator of how well or poorly a pitcher has performed, because Kodai Senga was in line for the loss in this one before the Mets rallied in the 8th inning, and Kodai Senga pitched way better than a pitcher that was going to get a loss. So the Mets were able to get him off the hook where he doesn't take that loss on the record. But I thought he pitched well tonight. Again, he just pitching to contact, putting the ball in play, letting his defenders. He picked up 5 strikeouts, but let your defenders take care of business. And then the Mets kind of pushed him tonight. 96 pitches, a season high. And so that's an encouraging thing. Means the Mets feel comfortable now, where if he's cruising like we saw in Sacramento a couple of weeks ago or a couple starts ago, that if he's cruising like that, they're going to push this into the 8th inning. They can push this into trying to go for a complete game with him going up to 96 pitches. Okay, let's talk about it, because I know it's the elephant in the room, and I see everybody discussing it in the triple play that was called against the New York Mets on a ball that was clearly bounced in front before the first baseman made the catch, before Nathaniel Lau made the catch involving the triple play, a 3-6-3 triple play. And look, they got it wrong. So it's just a bad call. It's a blown call. You've got 4 umpires all staring at the play, and nobody sees that it hits the ground. Nobody sees that it's a bounce. It's inexcusable for 2025 in sports. I think it's inexcusable that play is not reviewable, that something being caught or not caught is not allowed to be challenged by an umpire. I think that's ridiculous. I'm actually more upset about that than I am the umpires missing it. Umpires are human. They're going to make mistakes. But to tell me that in 2025, when we have instant replay for basically everything, that I can't replay, I can't ask for a challenge whether or not a player, a fielder, caught or didn't catch the ball, when in the outfield, if a similar play happens, a trap, I can ask for a review there. Just inexcusable that is the case. Now, I see somebody in the chat saying it would have been bases loaded, nobody out in that inning. It wouldn't have, because he knocked it down. They would have gotten it out somewhere, whether he threw it to second or whether they threw the ball to first base. They were going to get an out on that play. But yeah, it was a huge rally killer for the New York Mets that they were finally getting something cooking there in that inning. And it ended up getting stolen from them in the fourth, where they would have had at least a runner in scoring position, a runner at third base with less than 2 outs and a chance to get some runs on the board to get back in this one. They were trailing 2-0 at that point. Just a bad call. And again, at the end of the day, I'm more upset that the play is not reviewable than I am that the umpires got it wrong. It is bad that they got it wrong. It is bad that the first base umpire that is staring right at the play doesn't see that it hits the ground. I think that's a little ridiculous. But again, more upset, at least for me, that you're unable to review that play. You're unable to ask the umpires to look at it, because they would have clearly seen what everybody saw on replay, that it hit the ground. And just a personal story, my dad drove up to watch this game in D.C. He's going to catch a couple of games this weekend. And he was texting me because he's there. He doesn't see it. They're in Washington. And so they don't show up. They don't show the replay on the big board. And he was texting me, and I told him, nope, the replay would have overturned that one if they were able to do it. That ball clearly hit the ground. Insane that the Mets didn't get that one to go their way. But that's not the reason why they lost this game. The Mets rallied in the 8th inning. They put 4 runs across the board, and the bullpen, Ryan Stanek and AJ Minter, were unable to get those final 3 outs. They got 2 of them. They couldn't get the final out of that inning. It was a couple of season debuts tonight for the New York Mets, as Jeff McNeil and Francisco Alvarez both made their return tonight. It was a 1-for-4 night for Alvarez. It was a 1-for-4 night for Jeff McNeil. It's good to see those guys back. You can see just on paper when you look at it, the length that the lineup has and it gains when you have Alvarez and McNeil in there. And 1-for-4 nights for both of those guys. It's going to take a little bit. They're getting back into the flow of things, their first games of the season. But it was nice to see both of those guys back in the lineup. And it was nice to see what this team could look like 1 through 9 when they're mostly healthy and they mostly have everybody where they are. Yeah, it was a sloppy game tonight all across the board. Nimmo made a weird play that allowed a run to score by throwing the ball to third. The umpire making that bad call. It just was a weird game from the get-go. It was raining at one point. Just a sloppy game across the board for the New York Mets. They had a couple of nice plays. Huascar Brazaban made a nice play after kind of fumbling a ball. The batter prior made a nice play sticking out his glove to get out of the inning. Tyrone Taylor threw out a runner trying to advance to second base, trying to stretch a single into a double. So he was solid tonight. The team made plays. They had a chance to win the game. Bottom of the ninth, they had a 4-3 lead in a game that through the first 7+ innings, you didn't feel like the Mets were going to win because they weren't doing anything offensively and they had that triple play go against them. And so to get the start that they got from Kodai Senga, to battle back the way that they did in the 8th, and to have it where they're 1 out away from winning the baseball game, I'm not going to act like the sky is falling. And if that's what you're looking for me tonight on this Mets postcast, you're not going to get it. I'm not going to throw a hissy fit about a team that has a 7-game winning streak going into tonight, lose a close game when they've won a bunch of close games recently, and they've battled back and they've shown some resiliency time and time again this season. And I think this will not be the last time that we see the resiliency come from this team. Just a bad night with the bullpen, the defense, the Juan Soto play, again, a weird play in the outfield that sets all of that up, that sets up the triple that allows the game to be tied. Just a weird game across the board for the New York Mets. But the beautiful thing about the game of baseball, it's one of my favorite things about this sport. It's not like football where we have to wait 7 days or longer to watch our team play, right back at it tomorrow. And if there's one thing I know about the New York Mets is this is a resilient bunch. Most of the guys that are on this team were here last year, and they showed that resiliency. And I think we'll see it tomorrow. It'll be Clay Holmes on the mound against Brad Lord as the Mets will. How about this? How about this, everybody? Is this maybe this will lighten everybody's spirits? Maybe this will get everybody in a good mood going into tomorrow. The New York Mets can start a new 7-game winning streak tomorrow. You can't start a new 7-game winning streak unless your old 7-game winning streak comes to an end. Can we agree there? You can't. It would then just be a 14-game winning streak. Now, if you can have 2 separate 7-game winning streaks, now that's something. It'd be their 3rd winning streak of 6 games or more this season. I'm looking for the positives. I'm trying to get you guys a little bit more excited here. But the Mets will try to start a new winning streak tomorrow. It'll be Clay Holmes on the mound against Brad Lord. And we will be right here on the Mets postcast after that game concludes to break everything down here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel and in the Locked On Mets podcast feed. A weird night for the New York Mets. They struggle through the first 7 innings. A bad call from the umpire. A weird night defensively. A good night from Kodai Senga. The bats woke up late, but the bullpen couldn't hold it down in the 9th inning, and the Mets get walked off on in Washington. They lose by a final score of 5-4. But that's going to do it for us here on the Mets postcast. Appreciate everybody joining. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so that you are notified when we go live after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. And we will be back tomorrow, hopefully breaking down the New York Mets starting a brand new winning streak. Good night, everybody.